Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order the June 24th meeting of the Town of McAllen Zoning Hearing Board, called to order by myself, Chairman Quachak, at 7 p.m. We have Board Member Scott Metzger to my left and alternate member Arthur Nussbaum to my right. Arthur is filling in again tonight because he was at this hearing last month, and we have one item on our agenda, which is a continuation of a hearing. So it was more appropriate for Art to attend rather than Mr. McGrath. Okay, anybody that's going to present testimony tonight, could you please stand to take the oath? Raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you should provide tonight shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll jump right into our agenda. A nice break after last month where we had 6 items. First on the agenda is approval of some minutes that go way back to March. Those have been circulated and we didn't have people in attendance, so we kept pushing them back. We finally got to the point where we're ready to approve those minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the March 25th meeting?
I move to approve the March 25th.
Okay, and Scott was not at that meeting, so I will second the motion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so let the record show that those meeting minutes were approved unanimously. And this next item on the agenda is the approval of the May 27th meeting minutes, which was our last meeting. Those have been circulated in draft form for review and comment, which people did. And do I have a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
Yes, I move that we approve the May 27th meeting minutes.
Okay, thanks. The second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Let the record show the May 27th meeting minutes were approved unanimously. Okay, that leads us to the real substance of this evening's meeting, which is a continuation of Appeal 2057. The applicant is, might be easier if I put the cheaters on, 10X Ventures LLC, doing business as Sinorama of Monroeville. The location of the property is 8633 Old Perry Highway. The parcel identification is 714-R as in Robert -208. It is located within a neighborhood center, which is M. Michael and Nancy zoning district. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 1305.140, subsection C Charlie, subsection 5A Apple, which states pylon signs are not permitted in this zoning district. To refresh everyone's memory, this is the former Tender Care child care facility located on Old Perry Highway. And just to clarify, Matt, the town received no additional information since the last meeting. Okay, and you went on record as last month as the town had no position regarding this appeal.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. So we're ready for additional testimony, and just introduce yourself with name and address. We don't have a court reporter tonight, so just name and address will be fine.
Thank you. My name is Dean Phillips. I'm an attorney representing Early Years Child Care Center, the owner of the property. My address, 706 Rochester Road, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 15237.
Okay.
And I'm Josh Bergdahl. I'm owner of Early Child Care Center Inc. And just 4951. 150.
Okay, thank you. So you're the owner of the business? Okay, very good.
I just like to briefly thank the board for continuing this from the previous session. I appreciate giving us the opportunity to have Josh here and as well as myself to argue in favor of a variance here. And to start, I did want to clear up a few, I think, points of confusion maybe from the last time cleared by the board. First and foremost, just to describe the variance we're seeking, we're looking to have a pylon sign at the property. The property is in an MN district where pylon signs are not permitted, but we believe due to a number of factors, which I'll get into, a variance is warranted in this situation. And, basically just to describe the lot, I'm sure you may be familiar with the area. It was the former Tender Care Child Care Center. The lot itself is located on an angle right off of Route 19 on Old Perry Highway. The building is set back pretty far from the street itself. And due to the curvature of the road, whether you're coming either from Route 19 or from Old Perry Highway, whichever direction, you're facing a curve that blocks a clear line of sight to the building from either direction. And the lot itself is angled in such a way that it has limited frontage, to be honest, on the street level itself. And really, it's a visual concern is really the nature that this lot, the shape and topography and the location of it basically just makes it difficult to really clearly identify the lot, no matter which direction you're coming or going. Another thing that I want to note for the zoning board is that I think, as was discussed previously, within just a stone's throw of this parcel, there's numerous pylon signs. I know a number of those were likely grandfathered in from the 2023 revisions to the zoning ordinance, but just looking down the street, there's Valerie's Hair Design as a pylon sign. There's the Puff Stuff that has a pole sign. Across the street, there's Sheets with a pylon sign with their gas prices. McCandless Floral is right there at the corner on Route 19 that has a pylon sign. And the old Tender Care that used to be on this property also had a pylon sign. The building is a childcare center. After Tender Care left, early years childcare center has moved in and is operating a childcare center much in the same way that it was operated before. And due to the nature of that, there is a sensitivity towards being able to clearly identify the building in the event of any sort of emergency or any sort of urgent need to find the building. Because of what I just mentioned, how it's difficult to see, and because of the nature of how it's being used, there is a bona fide interest in it being easily identifiable and clearly marked and signed. It also, given where it's located, if you do drive past it, there is no safe turnaround for about, if you're going down Perry Highway, probably about a half mile before you can make a legal turnaround to go back the other way. And due to the, it's a double yellow street there, it may lead to some rash driving decisions if someone were to almost pass it and realize it at the last minute. So just further establishing that, since the unique nature of this parcel really calls for it to be well signed for safety reasons. With respect to the LED signage on the request, it is a pylon sign that has an LED portion of it. With respect to all the dimensions and LED signage itself is permitted in the MN zoning district. The requested sign meets all the size requirements of an LED, of a digital display sign as it's referred to in the code. And the owner would, recognize that, I believe this is actually stated itself in the code, but the owner would make that LED sign available to the township for any sort of emergency notifications or any sort of public address purposes that the town may need for it. And lastly, the sign itself, the pylon nature of it also complies. If this building were in a location where pylon signs were permitted, this pylon sign would meet all the height and size requirements that pylon signs are subject to under the zoning code. And as the board well knows, the 5 elements to have a variance be granted. Under the first element, there needs to be some showing of a unique physical hardship. I already kind of talked about this, but just the location of the lot, the shape and angle at which it's located, and the curvature of the street which it is located, it makes it very difficult to identify. No matter which way you're coming or going, the building is hard to see, if not impossible to see, until you're right up close to it. When you're coming from Perry Highway, if you make a turn onto the intersection, there's almost immediately a curve in the road after you turn on to Old Perry Highway, and the building or the lot essentially sneaks up on you once you round that curve. Coming the other direction up Old Perry Highway to Route 19, it's almost completely covered by the topography as well as trees and other natural features, so that you would not see the building until you were right up next to it, essentially. The second element is that there's no other reasonable use for the property. We believe that given the nature of it, a pylon sign, which is allowed to be taller than a monument sign or other building signage, is necessary here for this property to have any reasonable use as a business location. As mentioned, it's very difficult to identify either coming or going on that street. And due to the slanted nature of the lot, again, the limited frontage and the fact that you can't see the building clearly, even from the street level, there's a significant hardship to any business that would operate at this location if they were not permitted to have a pylon sign or a sign that could reach the limits of a pylon sign. And I think this can almost be inferred by the fact that one, the Tender Care previously had a pylon sign indicating that their business made a decision at that point that they needed a taller sign than a monument or a building sign. The neighboring properties, as mentioned, Valerie's Hair Salon, McCandless Floral, and then up onto, you know, the Sheets and the Puff stuff up there on Route 19 all have large signage. Now it's a little bit different, obviously, as you get towards Route 19, it opens up a little bit more. There's less curvature in the road, but in the immediate vicinity, virtually all the business locations have a pylon sign. And I think that that's indicative of the fact that there is a, due to the topography, curvature of the road, all those elements, there's a need to have some large identifying sign that people can see in order to access these businesses. With respect to the third element, whether the applicant created the hardship, the applicant here purchased the property in December 2025. He did not do anything to create this hardship. He bought the lot as is and has not made any real changes to the lot. So we don't believe that element is necessarily implicated here. The fourth element is whether the variance will disrupt the essential characteristic of the neighborhood. As mentioned, many of the businesses nearby have pylon signs. It's, you know, there is a residential location located near the parcel, but it's not a neighborhood per se, and it's not the type of signage that is proposed is not facing any residential area. It's facing back, you know, somewhat tilted, but facing towards Route 19, facing the one way, and on the other end, it essentially, because the curvature of the road faces virtually nothing. We don't believe it would disrupt any characteristic of the neighborhood, given the other commercial buildings and commercial signage that are immediately nearby. And the fact that there used to be a pylon sign there as of December 2025, Tender Care had a pylon sign there as well. So the last element is whether this is the minimum relief necessary. And on that front, the request here is for a pylon sign, which, you know, is the next sign up from a monument sign in terms of size and features. You know, we're not asking for a pole sign or a McDonald's M that's going to go 50 feet in the air. It's a pylon sign that's subject to height limits. This proposed sign meets those height limits. It's not extremely large or otherwise obtrusive, in my opinion, as far as what it is going to look like. And we believe it is the minimum relief necessary to allow the business to have a larger sign than what they are currently zoned for, you know, in the minimum necessary. It's the only other next step up. It's not asking for something beyond the pale in terms of the size and scope of what we're looking for. So under those elements, yeah, we believe there's evidence to support all five elements here, and that they've all been met, and we ask the board to consider this variance application for the pylon sign at this property. And if there are any specific questions, Josh is here, Josh Bergdahl from Early Years Child Care Center. He'll be able to answer.
Okay, thank you, Dean, for your additional testimony. We'll start with Scott tonight. Questions for the applicant and his counsel?
So my struggle with this application is that we're asking for a lot. So we're not asking just for a pylon sign. And I first question for Matt. Matt, I don't believe a digital display is permitted in the MN district by code. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Internal illumination is permitted.
Internal illumination, but not the digital display.
Correct.
Right. So my concern is that there's a type of sign variance, there's a digital display variance kind of wrapped up in this as presented. There's also there's also a sizing issue to me. Like, I understand pylon sign versus monument sign, but yeah, I mean, pylon signs aren't permitted at all. Max sign height of a monument sign is 8 feet. We're going up over 10 feet here. There's a lot wrapped up in, can we have a pylon sign that's not just a pylon sign? And so we're being asked to grant a very nice, very business friendly, I mean, if we're being honest, this would be a great sign for your business to have.
Yeah.
But we're being asked to grant a lot of variance wrapped up in, well, just let us go up to a pylon sign. I'm not accusing you of trying to do anything like underhanded. That's my concern. I'm wondering, would you be open to a redesign? Because I do understand your point of it would be nice to have a sign. and I do understand Tender Care had a sign there before, so I'm not opposed to working with you in a rather unique district to get signage where it's visible. But is there any opportunity to lower the amount that we're asking for here? Could we lower it to 8 feet? Could we remove the digital display? Like things like that to keep us closer to the intent of the code? That's,
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're just looking to get to 8 feet, that's definitely something we can get to. I mean, the purpose of the pylon sign is, I mean, like Dean pointed out, the visibility. And there's also the puff and stuff is right in front of the sign. So if you're coming down 19, we're trying to clear that and also eliminate the safety issue of people, not being able to see the sign at the last second and then slamming on their brakes because they have to make that bend before they get to that light right before sheets. So that, I mean, that's the issue with the 10 feet. We're trying to make be more visible to people. We're trying to find it. So it's like a safety thing also, but we might be able to get there with 8 feet. I haven't done the site analysis on it.
sorry, Art, do you know, and I understand Tender Care, my understanding is Tender Care removed the sign before you bought the property.
Correct.
So we wouldn't be here if they probably just left the sign up for you, but do you know how high that sign was? I mean, it was a completely different design than what you have here.
Yeah,
It couldn't have been more than,
I'm looking at the photo that was
3
included in
feet,
the
4 feet.
exhibit, yeah. 4 to 5 feet maximum
Yeah.
is what I would guesstimate the height. It's just above the height of the cars that are parked next to it, so.
And I would note it was significantly, not significantly, but wider than the proposed signage I think that we're asking for, at least from what I can tell, but I would agree it is shorter, certainly.
yeah, I don't have an issue with your total sign area. I think that's justifiable given the nature of the road. Art has his hand raised, so let me go to Art and then I reserve the right to ask
No, that's
more.
it. Yeah, I was just looking at the picture here, and I guess that's a pretty accurate representation of what it really looks like. And I'm looking at the mailboxes here, and I'm just wondering, you are permitted to have a monument sign in that district. You can actually have 2 of them. And the maximum height that you're allowed an 8 foot, it can be as high as 8 foot. So if you put a monument sign facing in 2 different directions there, that would solve the problem, and you would not need the variance for that.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that point. Just to clarify a couple things, and Dean, I appreciate the testimony, but all those signs that are out there, we're grandfathered. Clear on that. That's why they're there. The signs that are immediately contiguous to you, the hair salon and the other, I forget the other establishment, the flower show. I mean, they're technically pylon signs the way, but you can see they're very modest in dimension and scale. Versus the Puffin Stuff and the other businesses out on Route 19. So they have the monuments, they have the pole signs. I guess what really bothered me here is when signage is somewhat controversial in McCandless. We get a lot of sign variances and there's good merit to some of them, and there's this one. But what had me concerned is with the discussion of safety, and in one of your exhibits, you have a great street view looking down towards your property, would be looking to the east. The way the sign is proposed, I agree with Scott's concerns about it, but it's also positioned funky. It's positioned that sign is going to get greater visibility from Perry Highway than Old Perry Highway. You're not, if you had a monument sign, which is permitted in this district, you'd have double sides on that, and it would be, you can have it only has to be set back the height of the sign. So if you look at the monument sign, it's 8 feet tall. It could be set back 8 feet. And when I look at your photos, and if that sign was perpendicular to the road, you would have better visibility than you'd have similar visibility to what the Tender Care sign was. But I think you'd actually have improved visibility following the monument sign requirements. So I'm really struggling with this one because, as Scott said, you're asking for a whole lot. And quite honestly, it's not your fault that they tore the sign down, but you could have really used the Tender Care sign. And I think it would serve the same purpose. But when we have variances like this, it really gives us a chance to kind of, I hate to say clean up the neighborhood, but clean up the neighborhood. I mean, and comply with the new requirements of signage. So, I somewhat disagree, Dean, with the hardships presented. I don't think, I do agree with, I don't think we'll change the character of the area just because these were grandfathered in. And they're there, but I think you guys could do a monument sign in compliance with the code that would be 4 by 8. It's 32 square feet. It could be 8 feet tall. And I think when you set back 8 feet from the property line, you're going to get really good visibility. And I question, I think when parents, and I never had to make this decision, but when parents are choosing childcare, I mean, they pick your facility for a qualification, et cetera. They're not driving by looking for childcare. Oh, let's stop in and see. That's maybe where we can put, Alan and Richie. I think that once they know where you are, they're going to be there with respect to the question of safety. So that's where I'm really struggling. I think there was a lot to what Scott's point was. There's a lot here. And it's like, wow, this is kind of what we're trying to avoid, this kind of a situation. And I think the monument sign in the neighborhood center district is an appropriate signage use. Alan, do you have any perspective from the legal end of things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't vote, but first of all, I live close to there too, so I'm very familiar with these signs and stuff, and this sign seems different than what, again, the Valerie's and the McCandless Floral, I think, are probably the ones that are the closest comparables here in terms of the properties on that side of the road there. And to have like a message board there, I mean, there is a like I said, there's residents right behind this, right?
Correct. In fact, if you remember, we had a variance for one of the properties behind.
Yes, we did. Yes, I do.
It was quite a case.
I remember that, yes. But it's not like the code doesn't allow any signs there, so I think it's a hard case for a variance for what is being asked for, but it's just my perspective.
I appreciate that input. Dean, any reaction?
Yeah, and I appreciate all the comments. I would just note, I know Gregory, you mentioned, Alan, I think you were on a similar vein that the signage for Valerie's, the immediate adjacent property, is a little bit different. I would note Valerie's hair salon, that the building is much closer to the road. So, and part of this is too where the building is located. I mean, and if you could see, I think in one of the images here, I mean, you see it kind of sits up on the hill a little bit, but it is relatively far back. And, I would say especially less so coming from Route 19, but coming up Old Perry Highway towards Route 19 because of the trees and the topography of it. The building itself is really not visible until you get right up close. So I think that, I understand the signage at those other locations is much more, for lack of a better word, modest than what we're looking for. I think that the difference in the characteristics of the lot maybe speak to that a little bit. And I understand, Scott, your point as well, that it seems like we're asking for a lot here with what we're looking for. And this may be a misunderstanding on my part about the LED portion of it. And Matt, please correct me if I'm wrong. I was under the understanding that the digital display sign would be permitted. So it's not. Okay. So
There in the MN specifically, it's permitted to have non-illuminated and illuminated, and then in the other commercial districts, they permit non-illuminated, illuminated, and digital display. But I think what might have occurred was there could have been a misunderstanding between what the application was, because I was even looking here and I was uncertain of whether it was just an internal illuminated sign, because it did note on the application that it was illuminated versus a digital display sign. So I think that might have been maybe where that hiccup was.
understood. And is that, I mean, I just to educate myself a little bit, is that the recent ordinance from, I think, April of 2026, that was an existing restriction in MN?
Yeah. Let me double check one second, please. Yeah, there was nothing that adjusted the digital displays within the MN district in that adoption. And since the December of 25, the town has had the term is escaping me, but a new ordinance to cover, like, while we were updating the ordinance. So None of the updated changes have any effect to this particular application.
Pending ordinance.
Okay.
Pending, thank you, I could find it.
Okay, I guess my misunderstanding, I mean, my reading at 1305.130.8 is that digital display signs are permitted as long as they comply with the height and limit restrictions in 1305.
Yeah, and if you go to 1305 under one illumination, under MN, it states
Yeah.
A, external illumination is permitted, B, internal illumination is
But not
permitted.
digital display.
And digital displays, and B under MC, MU,
Yes.
PC, and SD, where it allows internal illumination or digital display.
Okay, understood. Then I see where you're coming from then. Then I understand that there is multiple requests incorporated and that I do understand the perspective that monument sign that is facing both ways would maybe better accomplish the visibility concern. I think the application that, and maybe it's not the best drawing in the world, or I guess display of what it would look like. My understanding is it would be two-sided, this pylon sign that we're requesting. And as far as the sort of angular nature of it, that I think, Greg, you mentioned that it is more angled towards Route 19 than Old Perry Highway. I think that orientation, it does look like that, it does appear that way to me. I don't know how accurate the dimensions are in the photo, if it would be maybe more of a perpendicular to the street or more tilted in that way, but I definitely understand that concern as well. But I understand the momentum maybe heading towards a different variance request, but I would ask that there be some consideration to a few of the arguments we presented with respect to the visibility and with respect to the unique nature of this lot and the need for some signage beyond what's permitted under the current zoning.
Okay, well, and again, Dean, I appreciate the fact that this building does sit back farther, but again, we have to act on what is submitted. And it's clear to me that this sign is almost parallel to the building, not quite parallel to the street. Versus, again, I think to address safety and visibility and approaching this site, this property from Old Perry Highway, either direction, east or west. If you have a monument sign that's 8 feet back from the property line, two-sided, 32 square feet, I think that accomplishes the purpose.
I think also the purpose, Greg, if I may talk, is
Absolutely.
we are trying to get more traffic, and we are trying, because people, you would agree, most people do travel Route 19 there, and if they're not going to go down Old Perry unless they actually have to get to the fire hall or the church down there, I mean, it's not a thoroughway that a lot of people travel. So that, I mean, it's gonna be above the top and stuff. You can see it from the intersection by sheets there. It's gonna alleviate people, trying to drive 45 down there, slamming their brakes, and they get, they pass and they see it over the corner of their shoulder when they're looking for the building. So yeah, it's a monument sign would be better for Old Perry Highway, but we're not just trying to get Old Perry Highway. We are trying to get, the customers and people looking for us from the 19, just like the Sheets is, or the HVAC company that's right up the street from us.
Okay.
So,
I appreciate that, Josh, I do, but again, when you think about the neighborhood center district and what we're trying to do, it's to be not obtrusive, so you're seeing the sign from an adjoining roadway, which is a highway, so, okay, we could probably sit here and go back and forth, and again, this board, we really try to work with folks, I think everybody will here attest to that, but this one's a little, and again, I'm speaking for myself, not these other two gentlemen, but, Scott, did you want to add something else?
Matt, do you know, or do they have any? I mean, I'm looking, it would not surprise me if this is a stormwater easement or anything of that sort. Would they have any restrictions with building 8 feet away from the property? I'm not seeing anything on the survey. Do we know if there'd be any other restrictions that would keep them from doing a monument sign 8 feet off of the road there?
Yeah, if you give me 1 second, I can check for you.
Yeah, there's nothing. This isn't really a survey, but
Yeah, it looks like from what my GIS system is showing me, it looks like all municipal stormwater and infrastructure is located on the other side of the street from this property.
Okay.
Any further questions, Art or
I
Scott?
mean, I guess my question would be. And this is more a question, well, I guess it would be a question for both, like. We do try to work with applicants to a certain degree, and I think the largest part of your request here was the misunderstanding on digital displays versus illuminated signs as to how you wanted to approach that. So I guess my question for the applicant is. Do you have any thoughts as to how this could be redesigned? To either lower the number of variances being requested or to eliminate the need altogether if you prefer to go monument sign?
Well, we could do the monument sign, I think, but we already purchased the LED sign because of the confusion, so. To redesign it from the LED sign to something different, it's gonna. Cost a lot of money for us there, but I mean, we could probably pop it onto a monument sign and still accomplish the goal. So if we could get the variance for the LED, then we can confirm to the, the request, the monument sign.
I think we'd have to have a new variance.
Yeah, you have to apply.
Yeah,
You have to have
that's a different
in
animal.
your application.
Yeah, that's a
Because I-
different animal.
I don't know how the neighbors would feel about that. They may want to come and. Participate in that hearing.
You know, if I may just say, I mean, this is just a question of personal taste. But if I'm a working parent looking for a daycare center for my child, in terms of signage, to me, the proposed pylon sign just looks like any other business sign along the strip and just like you're competing with businesses. And if I'm looking for an institution to take care of my child, I'd like something that looks more like a venerable educational institution, like, when you drive into a college campus or something like that. So, I mean, just a matter of personal taste, I think a more subdued monument sign would be more appropriate. And if I interpret this correctly, you can actually have two monument signs, so you can have one facing the old Perry Highway and one on another frontage that faces regular Perry Highway.
Makes sense, I think.
And so, that would accomplish both your goals and you would not need the variances.
Okay.
Okay, and again, we appreciate the discussion. We appreciate your frankness on it. Hopefully you appreciate what we're trying to do as well. I'm ready for a motion on this variance.
So, I will. Yeah, okay, so for appeal 2057, I move that the applicant be granted the variance. Since we're wording in the affirmative, the applicant be granted the variance. To allow a pylon sign in the MN district.
Okay, and that clarify pylon sign with digital display.
With digital display, yeah.
Okay, and do I have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. All those not in favor indicate by saying nay.
Nay.
Nay. I would recommend that rethink it and if you really firmly believe in the digital element being essential for you, come back with another application and, with a little more modesty to it. And again, we really try to work with applicants, but this one was just a little overbearing. So appreciate your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay, that's the only business we have. I'm ready for a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Moved by Art, seconded.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Record show, we're adjourned at 7:33 unanimously.
I think this is a record for one of the shortest meetings.
For you.
Yeah, for recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, for.